You're listening to Postcard English Stories, where every story is a small window into a big heart. Here we don't just teach you English, we take you on a journey through quiet hallways, lost letters, old friendships, and unforgettable moments. Whether you're here to improve your English or to feel something real, you're in the right place. Now take a breath and let the story begin. Part 1. The Man on the Old Bicycle. He appeared like clockwork. Every morning just after sunrise, a man on an old red bicycle would ride down Maple Street. The bike squeaked with every turn of the wheel, and the front basket was always full, sometimes with brown paper packages, sometimes with nothing more than a folded blanket and a thermos of coffee. His name was Mr. Ellis. At least that's what the kids called him. No one ever asked if it was his real name. He didn't work for the post office. He didn't wear a uniform. No official truck, no delivery scanner, just a satchel, a bicycle, and a face lined with quiet years. In the town of Willow Creek, Mr. Ellis was part of the scenery, like the old train bridge or the rusted water tower. People saw him, waved politely, and went about their lives. He rarely spoke, but he always delivered small packages, light, sometimes wrapped in craft paper, sometimes in old cloth, with a simple string. No return address, no notes. Some thought he was just an old man trying to stay busy. Others said he had once been a mailman and just never let it go. A few joked he was part of a secret kindness club, though no one could prove it. What no one did was stop to ask. Until one day, a 14-year-old girl named Mira received a package. It was left on the front steps of her apartment building. No one rang the bell, no knock. Just a small square box tied with navy blue string. Inside, a faded Polaroid photograph of a beach she used to visit with her dad, before the divorce, before he moved away. Under the photo was a smooth shell with a tiny heart drawn in marker. There was no name, no explanation, just the smell of sea salt and something that felt like memory. Mira ran downstairs, eyes scanning the street. She caught a glimpse just barely of a figure on a bicycle turning the corner at the end of the block. Red frame, squeaky wheels, Mr. Ellis. She hadn't spoken to him before. No one really did. But the next morning she waited by the window, 6:45 a.m. There he was riding steady, basket full. She bolted outside Mr. Ellis. She called out. He stopped, turned slowly. His eyes were soft but tired. He didn't seem surprised. "Yes, I think you left something for me yesterday." He smiled. A small, crooked smile. "Did it find you at the right time?" She blinked. "How did you know about the beach? I didn't." He said, "I just deliver." And just like that, he pedaled off. The package haunted her in a good way. She showed her mom. Her mom shrugged. "Maybe someone's trying to cheer you up, but who would know about the shell?" Mira asked. Her mom only shook her head. That was years ago. Later that week, Mira started asking around. Not many people paid attention to Mr. Ellis, but when she mentioned the package, something shifted. Her neighbor Mr. Chen said he got a box of Matchbox cars, the exact same models he lost in a house fire as a boy. The librarian had received a bookmark she thought was lost for 20 years. A shopkeeper mentioned an old letter showing up on her birthday, one she thought had been thrown away in college. The pattern was subtle, but too specific to ignore. Every package brought something back. So who was Mr. Ellis, and how did he know? Mira decided to find out. She started mapping his route. Waking early. Watching, writing down. Which houses he visited, what time, how long he stayed. Some mornings she followed him from a distance. Other days she hid behind the newspaper stand and watched him deliver with calm precision, always looking straight ahead, always moving forward. But then, something changed. One Tuesday, she waited and waited. 6:45, 7, Zorozoro, 7:30, no bicycle. No basket, no Mr. Ellis. He never missed a morning. Mira walked the block, asked the shop owner. No one had seen him. He was just gone. The next day, the same. Until on the third morning, a package showed up on her windowsill. Inside was a map, hand-drawn, and a note. Only 4 words. Finish what I started. Part 2. The package with no name. The map wasn't drawn with precision. No street names, no compass, no labels, just a few buildings sketched in pencil, a tree, a mailbox, and an X near the edge of the paper. Mira stared at it under her desk lamp, her fingers tracing the lines like they might whisper something. The note had been even stranger. Finish what I started. No signature. No clue where he had gone. Mr. Ellis, who had always been exactly where she expected him to be, was suddenly nowhere. That day at school, Mira barely spoke. Her thoughts spun like the wheels on his old red bicycle. What was she supposed to do? Finish what exactly? And how did he know she'd be the one to open the package? She didn't sleep much that night, but by morning she had made up her mind. She packed a notebook, a bottle of water, and the map. And just after sunrise, she retraced his usual route, pedaling the same streets on her own beat-up blue bike. It didn't take long to find the first landmark from the map, a crooked oak tree behind the old post office. Beneath it, she found something that made her heart skip, a metal box half buried under leaves. Inside 3 small wrapped parcels, each with initials written in faded ink, and one envelope addressed, simply, "For the Finder." She opened it slowly. Inside a single page, handwritten. If you're reading this, then you've seen what I do, or rather what I did. These aren't deliveries. Not in the traditional sense, they're returns, lost things, forgotten things, pieces of people they didn't know they missed. Until they held them. Again. I don't know how I always find them. Sometimes they find me. But now I can't finish them all. So I leave them to you. Deliver with care, and never expect a thank you. Mira folded the letter with trembling hands. She didn't fully understand what this was, only that it mattered deeply. That afternoon, she opened the first parcel. It was a worn leather bookmark with the initials J.R. pressed into the side. Inside the wrapping was a hand-copied quote, "There are no small books, only small windows into big lives." The second parcel held a silver charm bracelet with only one charm, a tiny piano. On the paper inside, a note read, "She stopped playing when her sister left. Maybe this will help her start again." Mira had no idea who these people were, but she knew what she had to do. She started asking around carefully, quietly. The charm bracelet led her to a woman named Lena, a music teacher at the community center. When Mira offered it without much explanation, Lena stared at the bracelet for a long time, then whispered, "I thought this was lost when we moved out of my childhood home. My sister gave me this before she joined the army." Her voice cracked. "I haven't heard from her in years." Mira just nodded and backed away. No need to explain. No need to take credit. It wasn't her story. She was just the one who delivered it. The next day, Mira tucked her hair into a knit cap, put on a jacket 2 sizes too big, and hit the streets. 3 more packages, 3 more reunions, a single glove a woman had worn on her last walk with her late husband, a note from a boy's childhood friend who moved away without saying goodbye. A toy dinosaur returned to a boy now in foster care who cried when he saw it. And all of it started with Mr. Ellis. Each delivery made Mira feel something she couldn't name. Not pride, not purpose. More like alignment. Like a missing puzzle piece had slid into place inside her chest. And yet one question still lingered. Where was he? One evening, as Mira sat by the oak tree looking through the last few parcels, she saw something new. Tucked inside the metal box's corner was a photograph Mr. Ellis standing in front of a small yellow house with peeling paint and an old wind chime. On the back it read, 42, Myrtle Avenue. Her heart quickened. The final delivery might not be a package at all. Part 3. The Trail of Lost Things. The house at 42 Myrtle Avenue looked like it had stopped in time, yellow paint peeling in strips, a crooked mailbox barely hanging on by rusted screws, and on the porch, a wind chime tangled and still like it hadn't sung in years. Mira approached slowly, heart-pounding. No one answered when she knocked, but the door wasn't locked. It creaked open with a groan, and the smell of old wood and dust drifted out. Not foul, just forgotten. Inside the house was quiet, still and full. Stacks of packages filled the front room. Brown paper cloth wraps, boxes tied with string, each one marked with a name or a memory. For the boy who forgot to say goodbye. The bracelet left behind. She always said she'd come back for this. Some had labels, others just had sketches, a drawing of a front porch, a window, a smile. This wasn't hoarding, it was archiving. A quiet museum of things people had lost and someone else had gone out of his way to return. In the corner, Mira found a table. On it, a map. Hand-drawn, detailed dozens of red pins marked homes, schools, corners of the town. Each pin had a note beside it, initials, items, emotions, like RW, lunchbox, his dad's note still inside. N. Kim, piano bracelet, stopped playing at 13. C.A., father's scarf, left on train platform. Mira stared. Her name was there too. M. Rivera, beach photo, plus shell, age 14, needs to remember softness. She blinked. Needs to remember softness. How did he know? She wandered through the house room by room. In the back there was a small writing desk. On it sat a thick journal, leather-bound, its edges worn smooth by time. She opened it. Page after page, written in Mr. Ellis's careful hand. Not poems, not letters, just observations. The girl with the silent sadness dropped her library card 3 times before she noticed he touches the bench outside the cafe every time he walks past. His dad's name is carved underneath. She waits for the mail even when it's raining, but never opens it in front of others. This was more than delivery. It was attention. It was listening. At the very back of the journal, taped to the inside cover, was a photograph. A young man, maybe Mr. Ellis himself decades ago, smiling next to a woman holding a newborn baby. Underneath it scrawled in faded ink, "You taught me what to hold on to. I'll spend the rest of my life giving it back." Mira stared at the photo for a long time. She didn't know if the woman had passed or the child. But she understood something now. This wasn't a job. It was redemption. Back home, Mira couldn't sleep. The images played in her mind, the packages, the names, the observations. It was like seeing the invisible lines that connect everyone suddenly lit up in bright neon. She grabbed a notebook and began to write names, memories, ideas. Then a question. What have we all lost that we never knew we left behind? The next morning she made her first delivery, not from the metal box but from her own memory. She dropped a keychain one her best friend had lost in 6th grade into her mailbox. No note, just the object. Later that day she got a text. "Did you find this? I thought it was gone forever." She smiled but didn't answer. That weekend, she gathered a small group, 3 classmates, 2 neighbors. She told them everything, showed them the map, the packages. Some laughed at first, but then she let them open one. A pressed flower, a yearbook photo, a guitar pick with a single word, begin. No one laughed after that. They started calling themselves the Returners, and one by one they began to track, to deliver, to return. But for Mira, one question still echoed. Where had Mr. Ellis gone? And why now? At the bottom of the old journal, written in trembling script, was a final note. When the wind chimes sing again, you'll know where to find me. Part 4, The Final Ride. It happened just after the first spring rain. Mira was walking home from school when she heard a sound she hadn't heard before. A wind chime, faint, fragile dancing, in the breeze above an empty porch. She stopped, looked up. There it was. The wind chime from number 42, Myrtle Avenue. It had been silent for weeks, tangled still. Now it rang, not loud, not showy, just awake. Inside the house, the light was on. Mira hesitated, her breath slowed, her steps careful. She pushed open the door, unsure what she hoped to find. And there, sitting by the writing desk in the same chair, wearing the same old flannel, was Mr. Ellis, pale, thinner, but smiling. "Hey, kiddo," he said, voice soft as rustling leaves. Mira froze. "You're here." He nodded for a little while. He poured tea, 2 chipped mugs, one for her, one for him. They sat together in the quiet hum of the old house. No rush, no urgency, just stillness. "I didn't mean to disappear," he said. "I just needed time." "You were sick?" she asked. He nodded, and now he looked out the window. "Now I'm on my final delivery." Mira's throat tightened. She wanted to protest, to deny it, but something in his eyes told her this wasn't fear. It was peace. "I read your journal," she said quietly. He smiled. "Good. And the map. And the packages. I've been delivering them, with others. We've kind of continued it." His eyes lit up. "The returners," he said, like it was a name he'd been waiting to hear. Mira laughed. "How'd you know we'd call it that?" "I didn't," he said. "But you're doing exactly what I hoped someone would. Not just return things. Return people to themselves." He stood, slowly, walked to the shelf behind the desk, pulled out a small wooden box. "This is for you," he said. "My last delivery." She opened it, inside a photo of her as a child, her first bike ride, her father's arms holding the seat. A paper crane folded from a hospital pamphlet, and a note written in his careful hand. "What we return isn't just what was lost. It's what still wants to be remembered." Her eyes welled up. "I don't know how you found these things," she whispered. "I didn't," he said. "They found you. I just listened." They sat in silence for a while longer as the sun dipped below the rooftops. Mr. Ellis closed his eyes, not in pain, not in fear, just tired. When Mira left that evening, she didn't say goodbye. He didn't ask her to. She walked down Myrtle Avenue as the wind chimes rang behind her, the kind of ringing that sounds more like a whisper than a song. The next morning, the light in the house was off. The door was closed and a new sign hung from the mailbox, "Delivery complete." The town held a quiet memorial a week later. There was no funeral, no big gathering, just people leaving small items at the oak tree, letters, books, old keys, toys, folded notes with names scratched into the corners. No one organized it. They just came. Mira didn't speak. She didn't need to, but she kept the final box with her, and in the weeks that followed, she added to it. A friendship bracelet from a girl she hadn't spoken to since 5th grade. A sketch her brother made before he left for college. A train ticket stub from the last trip with her mother before the divorce. Every object had a story. Every story, a return. One afternoon, she found a plain envelope on her doorstep. No name, no stamp. Just 4 words written in familiar handwriting. "Keep writing, keep delivering." She smiled, then walked to the garage, dusted off her bicycle, and began her next ride. Part 5, The Legacy He Left Behind. Years later, people still talk about the man on the red bicycle. They say he used to glide through the early morning mist like a ghost with good intentions. that he left things on doorsteps, packages that knew more about your heart than you did, that he had no address, no family, no origin, just a basket full of stories. And yet what no one really says, but everyone knows, is this: he never truly disappeared. Because now in cities and towns across the country, something curious has started to happen. People are finding things, not dropped wallets or lost umbrellas, but meaningful things. A letter from a father who passed away, a book with an old handwritten note inside one that matches your handwriting as a child. A mixtape you never made, but every song is one you needed to hear. And always, no name, no note, just a quiet, careful return. They call it the Returners Network. Now, what started as Mira and a few neighborhood kids became a quiet movement. No website, no headquarters, just stories. You joined not by signing up, but by listening, by noticing, by carrying someone else's memory back home to them. Mira now, 25, speaks sometimes at schools, libraries, quiet places where people still believe in listening. She doesn't tell people how to start. She just shares one thing: a small wooden box filled with items, a beach shell, a photograph, a paper crane, a folded note that says, "You are not forgotten." At one reading, a boy raised his hand. "How do you know what to return?" he asked. Mira smiled. "You don't always," she said, "but kindness has a strange way of landing exactly where it belongs." One day a girl named Lila from another town sent Mira a letter. She'd found a parcel in her mailbox containing an old camera that once belonged to her grandfather. Inside a developed photo she had never seen her and her grandpa on a fishing trip. It was labeled "Last Roll." At the bottom of her letter, Lila wrote, "I don't know who delivered this, but I know why they did." Mira keeps letters like that in a second journal. She calls it Returns Received. It's not for display, not for publishing. It's just for the days she needs reminding that the smallest acts echo the loudest. At the very back of the journal is one page empty, except for a quote. "What you leave behind isn't what's engraved in stone. It's what's carried in quiet hands and returned without a word." Mira knows what those initials mean, and every time she rereads that quote, she feels the wind on her face again. The hum of a worn bicycle and the soft ringing of wind chimes somewhere just out of sight. Now every spring on the first rainy day of April, Mira takes a ride. She delivers just one item. No message, no signature. Then she pedals to the oak tree by the old post office where it all began. There she sits and waits for someone new to find the first box, to hear the first chime, to begin the next ride. Thank you for joining us on the final delivery, a postcard English story. If this story moved, inspired you, or made you think about something you lost and someone you loved, maybe it's time to return something. A kindness, a word, a memory. And if you're still listening, you're already part of the story. And